Rush Hour I and 2 made us laugh out loud with heart-pounding chases and the unforgettable bromance between Lee and Carter. But did you know? Behind the scenes, some cast members fell into tragedy. They passed away quietly, in loneliness, in suffering, and sometimes without anyone knowing. Who were they? And what really happened? Let's uncover the truth behind the spotlight. Let's dive in. Tom Wilkinson as Thomas Griffin and Jun Tao. At the age of 50, Tom Wilkinson stepped into the role of Thomas Griffin, or more precisely, Jun Tao, in Rush Hour, 1998. A refined British businessman on the surface, but in truth, a ruthless international crime lord dealing in stolen artifacts and kidnapping. Wilkinson didn't just portray a dangerous villain, he delivered a chilling calmness and calculated brilliance that unsettled audiences with a mere glance. Yet behind that commanding screen presence, Wilkinson himself was quietly battling a hidden enemy: depression. Born on February 5, 1948 in Leeds, England, Wilkinson stunned the British public when he revealed in an interview with The Guardian that he had silently struggled with depression for over a decade, right in the prime of his career. He confessed that the emotional depletion after deep, complex roles left him numb, unable to connect with real life, even with his own family. To escape the darkness, he worked obsessively. He once said, "Acting is oxygen to me, but sometimes I breathed so hard, I lost my heartbeat." Tom Wilkinson passed away on December 30th, 2023 at his home in London at age 75. The cause, a sudden heart attack, while he was still actively working. The news sent shockwaves through the British film community and Hollywood alike. His net worth was estimated at $12 million, but his greatest legacy was the emotional range he left behind. Making the world laugh in the full Monty, cry in the bedroom, and hold its breath in Michael Clayton. At his memorial, a close friend shared, "Tom always carried a mischievous glimmer inside his sadness. It was as if he knew the world was cruel, but chose to forgive it through his art." Chris Penn as Clive Cobb. In Rush Hour, 1998, Chris Penn played Clive Cobb at the age of 33, a shady figure dealing C4 explosives to criminal organizations. Though a minor role, Clive sparked the chaos that launched the entire plot, an explosive chase scene ending with Carter's first real confrontation with the underworld. But what audiences didn't see was that the man behind Clive was also crumbling inside, devoured by addiction and personal demons. Born on October 10, 1965, Chris Penn was the younger brother of Sean Penn, but he spent most of his life eclipsed by that towering name. Dubbed the greatest supporting actor no one remembers, Chris won Best Supporting Actor at Venice for The Funeral, 1996. Yet the harder he tried to climb, the deeper he fell, into endless nights of drinking, parties that never ended, and pills to numb the emptiness. In 1987, he was involved in a nightclub incident where he assaulted a fan, a scandal that badly damaged his reputation. Chris Penn died on January 24, 2006, at just 40 years old, in his apartment in Santa Monica, California. Weighing over 140 kilograms, his body was found with traces of Valium, morphine, codeine, marijuana, and promethazine. The official cause of death was hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, a heart condition. His net worth was estimated at around $5 million, but his true value was best captured by Winona Ryder at a premiere. He wasn't just Sean's brother, he was Chris Penn, a forgotten artist who should have been remembered forever. Elizabeth Pena as Tanya Johnson. When Elizabeth Pena appeared in Rush Hour in 1998 at the age of 38, she played Tanya Johnson, the sharp and loyal explosives expert at LAPD, the only person who could balance the explosive personalities of Carter and Lee. But much like her character, Elizabeth in real life always had to fight alone. Born on September 23, 1959, in New Jersey to a Cuban family, Elizabeth was the daughter of Mario Pena, a well-known playwright and director. It seemed like the path ahead was paved for her, but reality was full of barriers. She once said that Hollywood never truly opened its doors to Latin women like her. Despite winning an Independent Spirit Award and Alma Awards, Elizabeth was often typecast in secondary roles, maids, mistresses, or the husky-voiced seductress. And in the midst of financial strain while raising 2 children, amid Hollywood's silence toward her ethnicity, Elizabeth slowly sank into alcoholism. Elizabeth Pena passed away on October 14, 2014, at the age of 55 at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. The cause was cirrhosis due to years of alcohol abuse, compounded by diabetes and heart failure. A death without noise, but heavy with weight. Her net worth was estimated at $1 million. She left behind her husband, Hans Rolla, and 2 young children, Kaylin and Fiona. In The Incredibles, her warm voice as Mirage is one of the few echoes that still linger. Philip Baker Hall as Captain DL. When Philip Baker Hall was 67 years old, he took on the role of Captain DL in Rush Hour, 1998. One glance, one raised eyebrow. That was all it took to establish the commanding authority of a law enforcement chief amid an international kidnapping case. But behind that stern presence was an artist who had once nearly vanished from Hollywood's radar. Born on September 10, 1931 in Toledo, Ohio, Hall once described his life as a long, exhausting bet where I kept losing until the 89th minute. Before director Paul Thomas Anderson gave him a golden chance in Hard 8, 1996, Hall survived by doing voiceovers and anonymous background roles in films where his name didn't even appear in the credits. To stay afloat, he had worked as a security guard, delivered newspapers, even sold books door to door, just to keep chasing a dream he had nearly abandoned more than once. But the cruelest irony was that just as his talent was finally being recognized, his body began to betray him. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, slowly tightened its grip on his breath, his lines, and his place in Hollywood. Philip Baker Hall died on June 12, 2022, at age 90, at his home in Glendale, California, surrounded by his wife and family. His net worth at the time was around $750,000, nowhere near matching the immense legacy he left behind in cinema. His final public appearance, at the 2009 Curb Your Enthusiasm premiere, plaid suit, silver hair neatly combed, quiet eyes behind the camera flashes, became a symbol of a kind of talent Hollywood always knew it needed, but only realized far too late. Chris Tucker as Detective James Carter. Chris Tucker was just 27 years old when he took on the role of James Carter, the fast-talking, wisecracking LAPD detective in Rush Hour, 1998. A man full of charm, chaos, and surprising compassion. He was the perfect comedic counterpart to the stoic Inspector Lee. The film catapulted Tucker from rising comic to international superstar. By the time Rush Hour 2 was released in 2001, Tucker had become the highest-paid actor in Hollywood, earning a record $20 million paycheck. But the spotlight that lit up his rise was also the beginning of a long, dark tunnel in his career. Born on August 31, 1971, Tucker was once hailed as the next Eddie Murphy. But after Rush Hour 2, he abruptly turned down multiple major roles. Some said it was because he had become too selective. Others believed he simply couldn't escape the shadow of Carter. But the most damaging issue was a decade-long financial collapse. Between 2001 and 2011, Tucker was hit with over $14 million in back taxes by the IRS, forcing him to declare bankruptcy in 2011. The mansions, luxury yachts, gold watches, all seized, sold off. A man who once held the world in his hands now struggled to pay back every cent. He didn't fall into drugs or public scandals, yet Chris Tucker became a symbol of squandered talent. When Hollywood called, he went silent. When fans hoped, he disappeared. Years passed with no explanation. Where is he? People wondered. And when he reappeared in Air, 2023, audiences gasped, "It's Carter, finally." But what moved people more was Tucker's humility. He offered no excuses, simply saying, "I needed time to understand myself." By 2025, Chris Tucker is 54 years old, with a net worth estimated at just $5 million, a small sum compared to his peak. But what matters more is that he's still standing, still making people laugh, and most importantly, still here. Perhaps that is his greatest role, not Carter, not the comedian, but the man who fell and chose to rise again. Jackie Chan as Detective Lee. In 1998, Jackie Chan was 44 when he played Inspector Lee, a dedicated, no-nonsense Hong Kong detective who partners with loudmouth LAPD Officer Carter to rescue the Chinese consul's daughter in Rush Hour. It was one of Chan's rare buddy comedies with an American co-star, and it launched him to unprecedented success in Hollywood. Born on April 7, 1954, Chan was no stranger to physical pain. But the deepest wounds may have come from his personal life. In 1999, he rocked the entertainment world by admitting he had fathered a child out of wedlock with former Miss Asia, Elaine Ng, after the press exposed the affair. Public outrage followed, especially after Chan downplayed the incident by saying, "I made a mistake that every man might make." The scandal shattered his flawless hero image and fractured his relationship with his daughter for years. While Chinese fans defended him, global audiences began to ask, was their icon really so upright? And the controversy didn't stop there. Chan later faced harsh criticism for political comments, particularly his vocal support of the Chinese government and his statement that too much freedom leads to chaos. Many Western fans who once adored him turned away. Adding to this was Chan's self-destructive work ethic, his relentless filming schedule, his refusal to rest, and his history of near-fatal injuries. In interviews, he admitted he didn't know how to stop, saying he felt guilty when not working. That mindset nearly cost him his life multiple times. As of 2025, Jackie Chan is 71 years old. He continues to act, produce films, and support charity work. His estimated net worth of $350 million ranks him among Asia's wealthiest entertainers. Though no longer leaping from rooftops or battling dozens on screen, he remains a global icon, not just because of his martial arts, but because of his story. A life filled with bruises, wrong turns, regrets, and redemption. Tzi Ma as Consul Han. In Rush Hour, 1998, Tzi Ma played Consul Han, a role that, while seemingly secondary to the action, brought emotional gravity to the entire film. At age 36, his character served as the calm anchor amid chaos. In Rush Hour 2, he returned at 39, once again acting as a bridge between East and West, between seriousness and absurdity. Tzi Ma's presence was subtle but essential to the emotional rhythm of the story. Born on June 10, 1962, Tzi Ma was the son of Chinese immigrants and grew up in New York, where he began his acting career with numerous minor roles. He was never involved in scandals or controversies, but Ma has been outspoken about the discrimination Asian actors face in Hollywood, where leading roles often went to white actors, while Asians were boxed into tropes like criminals, shopkeepers, or martial arts masters. He once recalled being rejected not for lack of skill, but because he had a face that doesn't sell tickets. In the 1990s, he even considered quitting the industry after being repeatedly cut from auditions for not being American enough. Tzi Ma has also spoken candidly about the unspoken pressure of living between two cultures. In an NPR interview, he said that Asian Americans often have to be twice as good to be recognized half as much. That burden left him with a persistent feeling of displacement. Not fully American, not fully Chinese. He has described the mental toll of fighting against an industry's prejudice while trying not to lose his cultural identity in every performance. As of 2025, Tzi Ma is 63 years old. living peacefully with his family and continuing to work steadily in film and television, with recent roles in Mulan, 2020, The Farewell, 2019, and Designated Survivor. His net worth is estimated at around $3 million, not a massive fortune, but a testament to quiet persistence and integrity. Tzi Ma may never have stood on stage holding a golden statuette, but he has carved his name into Hollywood, with quiet dignity and an unshakable sense of self. Mark Rolston as Special Agent Warren Russ. When Mark Rolston took on the role of FBI agent Warren Russ in Rush Hour, 1998, he was 41 years old. Russ served as a stern enforcer in the investigation of Soo Young's kidnapping, embodying the rigid face of law enforcement, often clashing with the intuitive chaos of Lee and Carter. Though a supporting role, Rolston made a lasting impression, thanks to his gravelly voice, piercing stare, and ability to apply pressure through silence, a trait that made him unforgettable in dark films like Aliens and Saw. Born on December 7, 1956, in Baltimore, Rolston once said his career was a long, quiet endurance test. Trained at the prestigious Drama Centre London, now 68 years old in 2025. Mark Rolston continues working steadily in film and television, from guest roles to appearances in series like The Boys and Criminal Minds. His net worth is estimated at around $2.5 million, the result of a long, honorable career built on consistency and quiet grit. He may never have won an Oscar, but in the memory of millions of moviegoers, Mark Rolston remains the most dangerous man you can't take your eyes off. Ken Leong as Sang. Ken Leong entered Rush Hour in 1998 at the age of 28, portraying Sang, a cold, calculating villain with few lines but deadly precision. Though his screen time was limited, Sang ignited a series of breathless action scenes and stood as the archetype of the intelligent and ruthless 1990s antagonist. Leong brought a chilling silence to the character's gaze, and that's precisely why his role, though secondary, left a powerful impression amidst a cast of Hollywood heavyweights. Born on January 21, 1970, Leong was one of the few Asian American actors to rise through the American film wave post-1990s. While he avoided scandal or controversy, Leong endured years of struggle trying to break free from the label of Asian side character. In an interview, he once said, "No one ever says you're not getting the role because you're Asian, but you feel it when you see who gets the chance." His performances in Lost, The Sopranos, and X-Men: The Last Stand showcased his range, yet they also boxed him into roles that were eccentric, foreign, or villainous. Leong once confessed that the greatest pressure was invisibility, when no matter how hard you worked, people remembered the character but not your name. He recalled how a fan once asked for his autograph and referred to him as that Asian guy in Something with Hugh Jackman. He smiled, but the sting was real. That's why every new role, no matter how small, became a personal challenge to prove, "I'm not a fringe image, I'm part of the center." As of 2025, Ken Leong is 55 years old, living quietly with his wife and son, still taking steady roles in television series and indie films. His net worth is estimated at around $2 million, not flashy like box office giants, but enough to live by his principle. No noise, no pretense, just acting. And while not everyone may remember Ken Leong's name instantly, anyone who saw him as Sang will never forget that look. Rex Lynn as Special Agent Dan Whitney. In Rush Hour, 1998, Rex Lynn played Special Agent Dan Whitney, an embodiment of the no-nonsense FBI force. At age 41, with his towering frame, shaved head, and gravelly voice, he was the quintessential system man, unbending, unamused, and loyal to the mission above all else. His role wasn't filled with dialogue, but his look and energy made him the kind of face audiences remember instantly, even if they don't know the name. The kind of presence Hollywood needs but rarely celebrates. Born on November 13, 1956, in Texas, Rex Lynn was once a bank vice president at age 32 before abruptly leaving it all to pursue acting in Los Angeles, after watching One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He never made headlines with scandal or drama, but he did share stories of his early struggles, living in cramped rentals, eating instant noodles, and attending unpaid auditions just to hang on. Even after rising to recognition in CSI Miami, Lynn was mostly cast as cops, guards, or killers, stoic, emotionless roles that never cried. Lynn once admitted, "I've been typecast, but at least I'm paid to be typecast." As of 2025, Rex Lynn is 68 years old, still holding steady in film and TV, frequently appearing in new projects alongside his longtime partner, country music icon Reba McEntire. His estimated net worth is about $2 million, not blockbuster level, but for Lynn, it represents years of persistence, resilience, and staying true to the roles he plays best. As he once said, "Not everyone gets to be the hero. Some of us were born to be the ground others stand on, and I take pride in that." John Hawkes as Stucky. When John Hawkes appeared in Rush Hour, 1998, at age 39, he played Stucky, the quirky gun store clerk who briefly assists Detective Carter in a short but memorable comedic scene. Though it was a fleeting role, Stucky perfectly showcased Hawkes' specialty: oddball, marginal characters with undeniable magnetism. For many mainstream viewers, this was one of the few early glimpses of his face, well before he would shine in heavier, critically acclaimed projects. Born on September 11, 1959, in Alexandria, Minnesota, John Hawkes grew up in poverty as the son of a pig farmer and corn grower. That hard upbringing gave him the weariness and emotional depth that now lingers in his eyes, a trait that defined his powerful performances in films like Winter's Bone and The Sessions. Though he's remained scandal-free throughout his career, Hawkes once admitted that he was often overlooked due to his unremarkable appearance and lack of Hollywood appeal. He even turned down the coveted role of the governor in The Walking Dead, believing he wasn't a fit, an unpopular decision at the time, but one that underscored his unwavering artistic integrity. Though fame came late, he stayed true to the difficult, psychologically demanding characters that defined him. As of 2025, John Hawkes is 66 years old and still active in both film and television. His net worth is estimated at around $4 million, built on powerful roles in Deadwood, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and most recently, True Detective, Night Country. In one haunting scene from True Detective, Hawkes plays guitar and sings a self-written song titled No Use, a melancholy, introspective ballad that captured the essence of who he is: quiet, solitary, and able to touch the deepest parts of a viewer's soul without saying much at all. Julia Shu as Soo Young. At just 12 years old, Julia Shu left a lasting impression on audiences with her role as Soo Young, the kidnapped daughter of Consul Han, in Rush Hour, 1998. Though she appeared in only a few scenes at the beginning and end of the film, her natural expressions and frightened eyes became the emotional heartbeat of the story, bringing urgency and tenderness to the explosive action. Julia made Soo Young an unforgettable part of the film's plot and emotional pull. Born on April 1, 1986 in Taiwan and raised in Los Angeles, Julia Shu seemed poised to continue a promising path as a child star after her breakout debut. But shortly after Rush Hour, she quietly stepped away from Hollywood. Her only other credit was an independent short film titled 3 Exits, after which she completely withdrew from the entertainment industry. Instead, Julia focused on academics. She earned a degree in business cinema television from the University of Southern California, USC, followed by an MBA from UCLA. According to official records, she now works in human resources in the tech industry. On her IMDb bio, she once stated, "I'm not a rapper, backup dancer, or aspiring YouTube internet celebrity." A short but bold declaration, one that firmly rejects the superficial spotlight culture of today's fame-obsessed world. As of 2025, Julia Shu is 39 years old, living a quiet life in Los Angeles, the same city where she grew up and now chooses to live far from the cameras. Her estimated net worth is around $500,000, mostly from her early film work and her career outside the industry. Julia never tried to be a star, and never needed to. For millions of fans around the world, the image of a terrified little girl screaming, then smiling when finally rescued, remains etched in memory. Soo Young never needed a sequel, and neither did she. George Chung as Soo Young's driver. In Rush Hour, 1998, George Chung appeared briefly at age 49 as Soo Young's driver, the man who helplessly watches the young girl get kidnapped on her way to school. Though his role was small and nearly wordless, Chung's presence was vital in setting the emotional tone and urgency of the film's opening sequence, pulling viewers straight into the chaos from the first few minutes. Born on February 8, 1949 in Hong Kong, George Chung was one of the first Asian actors to persistently work in Hollywood starting in the 1970s.